Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Thank you for joining me today. I just wanted to show you how I did this manicure. I did this 2 days ago and I have had so many compliments on it that I thought I would do a video and show you how I did it. Now before we get started, I would just like to say that this was an inspired design. I found a picture online. It was either Facebook or Pinterest or Instagram, something like that. And I just loved it and I thought, wow, I'm definitely going to have to do a version of that. But unfortunately, I can't find the video again. I've searched all of those applications and online and I have not been able to find it. So I'm not able to give credit to the lady that gave me the inspiration for this design. But if I do find it, then I will add it to the comments below. So in order to do this design, what you will need 3 colours. I've obviously chosen orange, black and white for my design, but you can do whatever colours you choose. And I have decanted those colours onto a palette here. So I've got some black, some orange, and the white comes in a pot anyway, so I can continue using that in a pot. Now, as I've obviously done my nails, I'm going to show you today using a couple of colour pops. Now these colours, if you want to know, the black is Black Velvet by Le Chat, which is hands down my favourite black in the world. It's fantastic. It's opaque in 2 coats. It applies like a dream. It's brilliant. The orange is Blue Sky in Neon 22. This is a gorgeous colour. I do find it needs 3 coats to give it a decent opacity, but it is a lovely colour. And the white I'm using actually isn't a soak-off gel polish. It is Snow White by Mosaic. But because you're just doing dots and there is a soak-off polish underneath, then it will soak off without any problems at all. So you'll need your 3 colours. I suggest you find as opaque colours as possible because when you do the dots, you really only want to be doing 1 dot, so you need a bit of opacity. I also suggest you have on hand a cleanup brush. And some isopropyl alcohol in a dapping dish. You will also need some dotting tools. Now I've got these 3. These are part of a set that I bought off eBay 5 or 6 years ago. There were 5 in the set, which effectively gave me 10 different size dotting tools. As you can see at either end, they're different sizes, which is just brilliant. It's basically everything you need in dotting tools. They are awesome. And yes, you'll just need some isopropyl alcohol to spray. So what I'm going to do with a doticure, what I like to do, or dotted manicure, is I actually remove the sticky layer from the polish once I've done it. Now the reason I do this, when you're doing dots, they can smear a bit or smudge, bleed, whatever expression you want to use on the tacky layer, because the tacky layer is slippery and smooth and it provides a surface for the gel polish to run, which is what we don't want. So I start by removing the sticky layer. As you can see, the polish goes matte, which is absolutely perfect. That's exactly what you want to start the design. So I'm not going to show you all 8 designs today because that just is going to end up in a really long video, but I thought what I'd do is I'd show you these 2, so the ring finger and the index finger, and that's just because I can show you all the techniques that I used just within those two designs. So we'll start with the black. Now, one tip I have for you when working with a design, any design over black polish, is in regards to making the colour stand out. Now, obviously black is the darkest background you could possibly get. So if I put an orange dot directly on the black, you can see the colour, but you can see that it's not as vibrant as it is on my other nail. So if you really want colours to stand out on black, what you do is you put a layer of white underneath, and that will brighten up your colour and make your colours more vibrant. So that's what we're going to do with this black design today. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with what would be the biggest dot on the centre here and just place that dot first. So just slightly dip your dotting tool into your polish and place your first dot. Now what we're going to do, these other dots are a little bit smaller, so I'm going to pick up a smaller dotting tool. Now for this design, because we've got these horizontal dots coming out of it, we need to make sure we have an odd number of dots down the side to make sure that that appears like it's coming out of the center of the design. Now I'm not exactly sure how many dots are going to be able to fit along this nail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a dot at the top of the nail in line with my center dot and one at the bottom of the nail. And that just gives me a little bit more perspective, and then I can space my dots a little more evenly. Now to my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to get 2 dots in between the center dot and the top dot, and then another 2 between the center dot and the bottom dot. So you just try and judge that as best you can. Try and make sure you get the dots in line with each other. If that's what the effect that you're aiming for, which is exactly what I'm trying to do here. Now it's not an exact science obviously, but you just get it so that you're happy with that design, and I'm happy with that line down the side. So now I'm just going to continue the design across in this horizontal cross. Now because we're not worried whether we've got an odd number or an even number or anything like that, I'm quite happy just to line my dots along the side in a straight line, or as straight a line as I can possibly get. Okay, so now we've got our vertical line and we've got our horizontal line, and I'm going to pop that in the lamp and cure it for 60 seconds. Okay, so that's now finished curing in the lamp. Now the reason I cured it for 60 seconds is because we're doing dots. The dots themselves end up being quite thick, so you want to make sure that that dot is fully cured, so I always do them for 60 seconds. Now we're going to put the orange on top of the white, but first of all, as I mentioned previously, I will be taking the sticky layer off that white polish, and that will stop any of it from bleeding. Now, what you can do, you've got a couple of options here. You can, if you want the orange to cover the entire dot, then take the same size dotting tool that you used, and just fill in that dot. Alternatively, if you want to have like a bit of an orange dot inside the white dot, which as you can see I've done with the black and white here, and with these dots, then you can just take a smaller size dotting tool and fill in the dots there. So it's really up to you which look you prefer. I'll just make them both even so that they're actually the same design. It's slightly different to the design that I've got, but that's all good. And so that gives it a different look. You can either fill it in completely or you can do the smaller dot inside. Okay, and again, because the dots are quite thick, cure that again for another 60 seconds. Now that's finished curing in the lamp. So once more, we're just going to remove that sticky layer, and that will just make sure that all those dots remain nice and crisp. The lines stay nice and firm. Okay, now once that's gone matte, once your isopropyl alcohol has dried, take your top coat. I've got Blue Sky top coat here. And just put a layer of top coat. Now, if you don't remove the tacky layer from the dots, which obviously you don't have to do, make sure you float your top coat layer on. And that just means you'll need a little bit of extra product, and just don't drag the brush down the nail, because you will drag a bit of colour with you if you do that. And cap the free edge. Now with the dots, make sure you can sort of scrub the top coat in a little bit more, which again is another reason I like to remove that tacky layer, because you need to make sure you get top coat in between all of the dots. Because the dots are slightly raised compared to the rest of the colour on the nail bed, you need to make sure that that top coat gets in between all those layers. Okay, and then cure that in your lamp for 30 seconds. So here we have our black nail all ready to go, all cured, top coat all cured, lovely shine on it, and our dot's all in place. So now we'll look at doing our orange nail. Now this nail is going to look the same as my ring finger here. Obviously, again, with the other one, it's quite a bit bigger than my own fingernail. So we'll just work within that. And we'll start, as with the other one, with the center dot. So we need an uneven number of dots down the center so that we can have the dots in the middle down the side. So we'll start with our center dot again, where we think is smack bang in the center of our nail. And then we'll go in line with that dot at the top of the nail and in line at the bottom as well. Okay. Now, because I want a good bit of space between these dots so I can do the white dots in between, I'm just going to do one dot in between the center and the top dot, and one between the top and the middle and the bottom. Okay, now I'm not particularly happy with the location of that second dot. That looks a bit skewy to me. So I'll just take that out. Get rid of that little bit of a tail that I caught on that one. And that's the thing with, great thing about gel polish, obviously it doesn't cure until, so it doesn't set until you cure it. So you can redo as often as you want until you pop that in the lamp. Okay, so now I'm happy with that. So I'm going to place that in my lamp for 10 seconds or 5 to 10 seconds just to do a bit of a flash cure. And so the next row we're going to do with the white, so we want those placed in between, sorry you can't see me there, we want those placed in between the black dots, evenly spaced. I'm going to use a slightly smaller dotting tool for the white dots, and that'll give the nail a bit more dimension as well. As I said before, doticures aren't particularly difficult designs, but they can be rather time consuming. Okay, and then we're going to do the same down the other side. Oops, there's far too much on that. It's a bit tricky trying to do this with the camera because I'm leaning much further forward than I would normally be doing. But I'm trying to get it on camera rather than out of frame, which isn't going to be very helpful to anybody. Okay, that dot somehow ended up being a little bit smaller, but that's okay. So once again, I'll pop that in the lamp and just do a flash cure of that for 5 seconds. And then we'll go back to our black polish. So I'll just clean off this dotting tool a bit, get rid of all the white polish. And then we've just got some black. So these black dots will actually be in line with the original dots that we've got. So we want them to sit in between the white dots that we've got here. Okay. And I really like this design. It's pretty simple, but it's quite effective. I like it. It's a bit interesting. And again, you can do different size dots if you want. You could do bigger dots at the top leading to smaller dots down the bottom, or vice versa, or however you want to do it. Bit of variety. There we go. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So that's now going to cure in my lamp for 60 seconds. Okay, so that's our nail all cured and out of the lamp. Now, as with the other nails, I'm just going to remove the tacky layer off this one before I top coat. Because there's so many dots on this one, you'll need to definitely get in between all the little nooks and crannies in between all of these dots. to make sure that it's top coated properly. Now, of course, the other option you have, as you look at this nail now, it's quite matte. And if you wanted to put a matte top coat on top of it, that's exactly what it's going to look like. So that's the matte versus the shiny. Personally, I like both. I think the matte looks awesome as well. I did a glossy top coat, but you could just as easily do a matte top coat if you wanted to maintain that look. And of course, you could do like 1 or 2 accent nails in matte and the others in glossy. It's entirely up to you. So many choices with gel polish. That's the beauty of it. You can make it look different. Okay, so I am scrubbing this in a little bit just to get in between all of those dots and cap the free edge. Okay, and that goes in my lamp for 30 seconds. Now, in terms of capping the free edge, I don't do every single coat. I do the base coat, I do 1 coat of colour, and I do the top coat. I was finding that when I cap the free edge on all coats of colour, that the edge of your nail here, the free edge, can get quite thick and more prone to peeling and lifting and catching and things like that. So now I just do the base coat, 1 coat of colour, and then the top coat. Okay, so that's our 30 seconds done, and our orange nail is now done. Now, I did use a no white top coat, so there's no sticky layer that I need to remove, and that's both of our nails. So as you can see, the doticures are very effective. They are relatively easy to do, but they can be quite time consuming, partly because you need the extra cure time, and if you're going to do multiple layers like I did here, then you need to do a full cure in between each layer. Yeah, so there you go. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.